So kind of got through things today, hopefully relatively healthy. Had a couple guys nicked up. We'll see how that goes. That's always the number one thing, is you want to make sure you don't get somebody hurt in this situation. And I thought the number one offense operated pretty well. A couple guys on defense I thought stood out. I thought Jacob McCarthy at inside linebacker had a very productive day, just from my perspective, being down on the field. He was very physical, very active. Baloo obviously had a couple big plays, including a pick six. And I thought that Chris was efficient in the passing game, made some good decisions. The last touchdown he threw to Kevin was a very, very good pass. They were playing cover two. The corner was sagging underneath it. If it doesn't have the right velocity and trajectory on it, it's a dangerous throw. But you could see his maturity and his growth, I thought, today, and I think that was on full display. Certainly didn't open the playbook, but got some good work. I think you see that we've got a couple capable backs, and obviously number 8's a guy that can do a lot of things with the ball in his hands.
Overall, what did you think of the spring?
Well, I thought it was kind of what the spring is. I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like 12 practices is about the sweet spot. I think 15 is almost too many. You get to the point where you're stretching the spring out, and as our roster becomes more mature, I think I'd like to tighten the spring up a little bit. And I think just because, especially at the FCS level in the springtime, you don't have a lot of bodies anyway. So you got a lot of guys taking a lot of turns, and it starts to kind of wear on them a little bit. Not just physically, but they get a little bit mentally fatigued as well. And for us to be able to kind of maximize our ability to let these guys have some time to get their bodies right and really focus on their academics, I think that might be a direction that we'll look to go. The NCAA's kind of tightened things up. You see in the fall with the new rules and no more two-a-days, and I can see some of those rules even trickling into the spring in terms of some contact stuff.
Talked about what number 8 can do. Talked about what number 85 can do.
Yeah. I'm going to give him a hard time. He got hawked by Ben on that one vertical route, but I thought Kevin did a nice job all spring, and I think it really just started with the work that he put in the off season. I think he was one of our hardest working guys in the weight room, and put in a lot of time and extra time. You don't become great by just doing what everybody else does. You've got to take that next step, and I think Kevin did that, and I think that the hard work that he's put in through the course of the winter showed off. Not just today, but really throughout the spring. And I think he's a guy that we can count on to do a variety of things. He's smart. We can line him up in a variety of positions. He's good with the ball in his hands in a lot of ways. As a returner, as a slot receiver, as an outside receiver, even in the backfield some. And so I think that he's a valuable weapon in our offense.
You mentioned the throw Chris had. Do you feel like the velocity is the part where he's improved most? Or what aspect of throw?
I think pre-snap he's more comfortable knowing where he's going to go with it, and I think that helps everything else. So that confidence in his decision making allows him to play a little bit faster. And I think the other thing is his feet are so much better. He's much more calm in the pocket. He doesn't have, I call it, a frog in a frying pan. His feet aren't just going 1,000 miles an hour. And I think he's more decisive when he takes off and runs. You saw today, it was like, okay, that's not there. I'm going to go get what I can get. And I think that's a lot of growth in his game. And I think Denarius has done a really fine job of not just with Chris, but with all our quarterbacks in terms of helping those guys understand and master the position.
What did you see from your first team corners today, and what are your kind of expectations for them going forward?
Yeah, we didn't play a ton of man-to-man today, and so that's something that maybe we'll sprinkle in a little bit more. But Damian Washington and Bryce Alley kind of went out there and started at the corner positions today, and have really kind of been in that role all spring. Those two guys are guys that are smart football players. Bryce is a guy who's played a ton of football and been around a long time, and so that helps him a bunch in terms of his maturity. He's a very good leader, and then Damian's a really smart kid, and so that combination, kind of the experience and then the football intelligence, those are guys that we're going to have to rely on, and their ability to play man-to-man will determine a lot of what we do on defense. And if we feel like we need to protect them, we can do some other things coverage-wise. But right now, we feel like those guys are in a good spot. We've got to develop some depth around them now.
You said after Great Falls you wanted to challenge the receivers to go make some plays. Mitch had a nice leaping catch. A couple other guys. Did you feel like they answered that challenge?
Yeah, I really do. And I think Mitch would be the first one to say, like yesterday morning, they slept-walked through practice a little bit, right, Mitch? And but we got things cleaned up, and they came out ready to play today and did some awesome things. And that's what we expect out of Mitch and Kevin and JP and those guys. We expect those guys to be playmakers, and I know that's what they expect out of themselves as well. And so it was Mitch's birthday yesterday, so we're happy for him there, and looking forward to those guys getting a great summer in.
When you got so much of a signed class of 2017 last year for the weekend, what do you hope, being that they're so close to getting to campus and being part of what do you hope they take on?
I hope that two things happen. Number one, they become tighter as a group themselves. So they hang out on the sideline and up in the stands today, and got to know each other a little bit better and are excited about getting to build those relationships. And number two, I hope that they see, hey, I better get some work done because, there's guys here that can play. And if I want to be on the field, then, that they can kind of evaluate themselves and say, hey, this is where I'm at. And if I want to be that guy, this is where I've got to go. And so I think it's good for them to see, hey, who are the guys in the depth chart in front of me at my position? Do I look like them physically? Am I as fast as them? Whatever it is that they may need to work on to be able to compete for those roles, and then just develop that brotherhood and that chemistry.
You mentioned Blue Chapman making some plays. He took so many reps, first, second, third team all the way on that side. Do you feel like that's aiding him in his development?
Yeah, I think so. I think that 10,000-hour rule, right? You got to go out there and you got to get repetitions and turns, and him having the ability to do that, I think really has improved his game. But he's always kind of been a splash player, is what I call him. Those guys that get, even in limited reps, they seem to get TFLs or interceptions. That's what I call a splash player, and that's kind of how I define Blue. He's very explosive.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, you're pretty comfortable with your front seven. It seems like you've got a good rotation at safety, but how do you kind of build depth at corner, like you said, with trying to get those first team guys reps and then trying to get guys right behind them?
There's plenty of reps in the summer. You're going to have a ton. These guys are going to run their player run practices. They're going to have 7-on-7s. They're going to be here all summer working to do that. And the other way to do that is we have a signing class coming in, and so we're going to have a whole new crew of guys that come in to provide some depth and some competition at those positions. And we'll have 3 guys right out the gate that'll start out at corner that will be able to give us some depth. And they're all very accomplished high school football players. And I think there's certain positions where freshmen can come in and play. And I believe corner is one of those. I think wide receiver, I think running back, and I think corner. As long as we kind of keep it not too complicated, because a lot of times, at some point in time, everything becomes man-to-man coverage based on how the routes progress. And so that's going to be one of the things that we're going to have probably some young guys play that. And they're going to get their baptism of fire when they play Washington State on September 2nd.
Keaton Anderson with the 2 California guys in terms of starting a corner.
Yeah, I think we'll probably start out Keaton at corner, but he played safety, but he's also fast. And so speed is something that you have to play that position. And he's a longer guy, so I think that'll give us a chance to get some guys going. But we'll see. It's all up for grabs. This is off the books now. It's time to start looking towards August, and everybody's got a fresh start.